All right, so Chris, welcome to Time with Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
You're officially a professional podcaster now.
I guess that's what.
Is this your first time doing a podcast or no?
I mean, I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, my first Hollywood appearance was in '88. They had a little Aurora had a movie in downtown Aurora, and I think I was like 12, and I was on that movie for like 2 seconds. So that was the first time I was on the big screen, you know. So,
Chris Powell, running for County Council District 3. And Chris, when I started doing these, I guess it was a couple years ago, one of my irritations with county politics was I would go to vote and I'd see some signs out and about. And but other than that, other than knowing somebody's last name or seeing a name I recognized, I had no idea what the issues were. It was just, oh, that's a good person, or I don't even know them, and I'm checking a box of somebody I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to create a way that was free, it was cheap, to consume. It wasn't like, you got to spend $5,000 on a campaign, and create a platform where people running for office could just come, sit down. Who has time to go knock, 1,200 doors or whatever it is in your district for a job that pays nothing? It's more service. I mean, there is a little bit of pay in council, but
no, I was on the 1,200. I mean, knocking on doors and everything.
Yeah, people aren't home.
I've done that in the past. It's not easy.
Right.
So.
And most people, in my opinion, I have a full life. If some politician or somebody who's running for office on a local level comes and knocks the door, I don't want to be rude, but at the same time, I got a full life, and it's never like a scheduled time they pop by.
Yeah.
I would rather just be able to look out on my phone or watch a podcast or clips from a podcast and kind of draw my own opinions about someone. So that's why I started doing these. Typically what I start with is just asking somebody, what's their background growing up, starting with that, born and raised, what kind of home are they born into, where were they born at, grown up childhood into their professional careers and adult life. So
right.
Starting with that, where were you born and raised and what your parents do, and we'll go from there.
Born and raised here, obviously. I've lived here all my life. I always jokingly say I've basically essentially lived in 2 houses in my life.
Really?
So I lived in I grew up in my parents' house on Stitz Hill, and
it's better than growing up in the doghouse, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up there, and then when I turned 21 or 2, I can't remember exactly how old I was, I bought my first house, moved there. Unfortunately, my parents both passed away, and when they did, my wife and I did. Well, it was kind of funny because we were dealing with all that and cleaning out and doing all that kind of stuff, and my wife calls me one day because she never wanted to move to the country, and my wife calls me one day and says, "Why don't we move here?" And I'm like, "Where are you at that you want to move?" And she was at my parents' house because that once, it was cleaned out and everything. So we ended up buying my parents' house, moving there. Lived there for 6 years, and that was when I realized that, which you understand what it is when I was a kid, it was great living in the country. But then as an adult, I realized when I was a kid, somebody else took care of all this stuff. So, we had 30 acres and 5 acres of grass and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we made the decision to sell that and move back to town. So we still own the house that I had bought when I was 22, 21. We moved back to town on west side of Aurora. So I've lived in those two houses. There was a house up on Ridge that I was like 2 or 3 when my parents moved out to the Stitz.
What did your parents do growing up?
So my dad was a diesel mechanic at Liskey Motors. He actually started, I couldn't begin to tell you how, he literally started at like 12 years old and knocked the round barn down on where Liskey Motors was originally across the street from Applewood. So
where was it?
Yeah, that's how long it's been.
The one that's A1 Detailing now?
No, next to that one. So there's the carriage house next to that. That was the old garage, as we were.
That was the old Liskey Motor?
Yeah, that was where Liskey Motors started out. So
holy cow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I cut the grass for like 2 or 3 years for Liskey's out there.
Oh, there around
and
barn.
Yeah,
you must have got it.
Robert gave me the tour, and
it
used to be a big dairy farm, and they've converted everything. And
well, when you were
really
doing that, when you were
what
getting the
they've
tour,
done.
my dad was probably there turning wrenches on a truck. because he worked there forever. So I mean, like he retired, and even when after he retired, he would still go out there every now and again and work and stuff. But yeah, so
Okay.
But it wasn't long after he retired, unfortunately, that he passed away. So yeah, he was probably out there when you were out there mowing grass. So anyway, I've lived here all my life. My family's been here. Well, my mom was from she was from Ripley County. She was a Milan girl.
Okay.
And yeah, so my family moved here. We were actually on my lineage is if you go down to the historic part of the library there and get the settlers of Dearborn County, where my family's in there. We're one of the 1805, 1806 is when we came to Dearborn County from Pennsylvania. So
okay.
Which is really weird because Powell is almost like Smith. So there's literally 4 Chris Powells in just this general area that I know personally. There's another Chris Powell in Kentucky that's actually a realtor also. So that makes it. We actually called each other one day. It was funny. So yeah, Chris Powell is a very common name. I've even had people in this election reaching out to me to figure out which one I am.
Which of the Chris Powell?
Yeah, which one of the Chris Powells I am.
So you're the one and only. But you're the one in 4.
Yeah, I'm 1 in 4 or 5 actually. Who knows how many there are? There's a bunch of us. But anyway, so there's a bunch of Chris Powell. So I'm this Chris Powell. If anybody has any questions,
Graduated from South Dearborn. Then?
Graduated from South Dearborn.
Did you go to college after that, or what was your?
Attempted to go to. I did several stints at trying to decide what I wanted to be when I grew up. Going to college.
It's a great question.
Yeah. So I always jokingly, most of my college was the University of Hard Knocks.
Same.
That's where I went to school most of my time. But right out of school, and this kind of goes into politics too, but I graduated high school in '96, and at the same time, I was actually working at Tandy's grocery store. I worked there all through my high school years. But
that was my brother's first job.
Really?
Yeah.
What era was that?
Like 2001 to 2004.
It was long gone after that. But yeah, so I loved working there. But anyway, getting out of school and trying to figure out what I actually wanted to do when I grew up. I was also working Tandy's, and I was working at Anderson Ferry actually too as a deckhand. My goal at one point in time was to get my captain's license and
be a ferry boat captain.
No, I wanted to go off to the sea and be big ships and take off kind of thing. But anyway, that things change. Obviously, life leads you down. Everything's meant to be, right? I always think it's amazing the little bittiest, like you can take the smallest possible decision that will start
a ripple effect
of the rest of your life. So one of the big ones I always look back and laugh of was I decided to go down because there was, the riverboats were coming to town. That's where I was going to get that. That's the politics side of this. So the big debate was, the riverboats and all this kind of stuff.
With the casinos?
Yeah, the casinos, okay. Right. So it's 97, and the casinos are coming to town. And obviously there have to be riverboats. I was a deckhand and wanted to get more hours. You got to have, in order to get your captain's license, you have to have so many hours at this on a certain side, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, I need a bigger boat. So I was going to go down there and work at Rising Star because that was actually the first one that opened up. And I remember the conversation. It was great. I think her name was Regina. She was the HR manager. And so she's interviewing me as a deckhand, and she says, well, it'd be great, but there's one problem is you're not 21 and you have to be 21 to work on the boat, so you can't be a deckhand. So I was like, well, that's not, that ain't gonna work. She looks at me and says, well, what do you think about valet? And I'm like, I'm an Indiana kid, just got out of the corn, barns and stuff, and I'm like, what's valet? And she looks at me and
Isn't it a French word or something?
Valet, yeah, probably. I mean, I'd be honest with you, I'm not 100% for sure, but it's
It's like a car hustler,
Well, valet actually back in the day, if you is it Dalton Abbey, the television show, all the you ever watched that?
No.
Well, anyway, one of the main characters, they're valets. That was the guy
gotcha.
that back in the day when you were kings and lords and things like that. The guy that dressed you.
Was a valet.
Was a valet. But anyway, it trickled down to where it was a guy that parked your car. So the funny thing was, is I had no idea what a valet was, and I said, "What's a valet?" And she said, "Like, where you park people's cars." And I'm just dumbfounded because I'm just this country kid. And
Who would pay to park?
I'm like, car? You park people's cars? I'm trying to wrap my head around the fact that there's all this kind of stuff. And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "It'll be really, it'll be good, and you'll work for tips, and then you'll like it." And I'm like, "Just sure, I'll give it a whirl, see what happens." I didn't even know what it was, but I worked there actually for 16 years and running the valet department. Finally, I started out running, and I was the manager on weekends. Weekend nights was my shift, so I ran the.
That's when all the good money was.
It was. That's why I did it. It was actually a cost. It was great for my life. My wife was a nurse, or is a nurse, but she gave it up a few years back. But still a nurse, obviously. But so our shifts
were opposite.
Yeah, we could raise our kids. Both of us could work, and that was what we did. And so anyway, yeah, 6 to 6 every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is for 16 years. And which actually I ended up loving, because when you're raising kids, you go to the wherever on a Saturday, and it's just insane.
Yeah.
You go do that on a Wednesday.
Oh, it's
you
quiet.
got the world to yourself. So
yeah.
like I loved it with the girls when like you go to the zoo or whatever on a Wednesday afternoon.
Nobody's there. No lines.
You had the world. So and I still that's even is what I do today. I much rather take some time and go work on Saturday and have Wednesday off to go do whatever. So anyway.
So backing up,
yeah.
So you start your job at as a valet.
Yeah.
When did your wife come into the picture? Were you guys high school
sweethearts? That's actually where I was going. So remember the little simplest decisions make the biggest effect on your life. So that decision to go down there and work at the casino and take that job as a valet guy is where I met my wife.
Okay.
So she was friends with one of the guys I worked with, and she'd stop down there and just say hi to us and stuff like that as we're running around doing our thing. And we just, you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Start talking, whatever, and that's how I met her.
So in your mid-30s, then you transition out of valet. What was your next career path after that?
What I do now, real estate.
Okay.
So So Indiana had this kind of obscure law, which in real estate, where if you owned more than 4 units on one parcel or whatever, I can't remember exactly what it was, you had to have a real estate license. So for rentals, like if you were,
so if you own a multifamily,
if you owned like 2 duplexes on one lot, like if you had one lot with 2 duplexes on it, in theory, that whatever this law was, is you would have to, from there up, you would have to have a real estate license. They've since done away with this law. It doesn't even exist anymore. But at the time, I was like, well, I had ambitions of doing that, so I needed to have a real estate license. So I got my real estate license, kept it in referral status, and not sure, never have figured out exactly why Indiana decided to do it for sure, but they transitioned everybody from agents to brokers. Yeah, I've yet to figure this exactly out. But anyway, so we all had to go back to class and take some class and become real estate brokers instead of real estate agents. And then when I did that, it triggered my license back into active, and I was going to have to put it back into referral if I wanted to put it back in referral. And I thought to myself, I might as well I just took all these dumb classes to refresh myself. I might as well just give it a whirl, see if I even like this. And so I kept my license inactive and just started messing around selling real estate. And I enjoyed it, and I was pretty decent at it. And I decided that if ever I'm going to do anything, I like to, especially that, I want to do it myself, work for myself.
Right.
So you have to be in real estate for 2 years before you can go take more classes and become now what's called a managing broker.
Okay.
So I did that.
Which means that means other agents can work for you?
Yeah, you have to have it in. Just think of like back in the day, it used to be agents and brokers. And broker could have agents under them. Now everybody's brokers, but managing brokers can have other brokers.
So they just
under
reclassified
them.
and licensing?
They just changed to this day, I still haven't quite figured out exactly why.
Probably some genius legislator.
There was probably lawyers involved, I'm sure. Somebody somewhere. But anyway, so I decided to go out on my own and do my own thing, and that's when I started my company and been selling real estate ever since. And
how many years has it been?
8, 6, 8. I'd have to look. I don't even remember now at this point.
It's like 2018 time frame?
Yeah. Might even be 2016. I'd have to look. I don't.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies. I mean, that's what I tell, like, when I see you guys and the kids these days, and I see them with young kids and everything. It's like, don't blink.
Yeah,
I mean, somebody be handing you a grandkid before you know it. So that's what.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Right before my girls were born, we didn't know we were having twins. We had surprise twins, and I basically sold off 60% of, probably 65% of the work I was doing, and I didn't get much out of it. But I was like, I got to get this off my plate, and I want these clients that have been good to me to be taken care of, and so I want to line up the next person, and I sold off my equipment and other stuff, and I was just like, I've got to free this up because I'll never get these years back.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially when they're young, like the first 4 or 5 years, and I picked my 2 oldest are now 4, and I pick them up, and I'm like, they're not little anymore.
Like I said, don't blink. I mean, it just seems like it goes quickly.
Yeah. So I was with a buddy the other day. He's like, I could make more money. He's like, but I like being broke and staying. He's not broke, but he goes, I like being broke and being home with my family.
There is something to be said about that.
But I'll make my money later.
I'm not I'm not into materialism. I don't really get into flashy things and stuff like that. So, like, I like to live simple. I don't really need a lot of stuff. I'd rather.
I think that's what most of Indiana is. It's like, hey, we want the basics. We want, we want to be comfortable. We want the nice stuff. We want low cost of living, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, to each their own, but I just don't understand it. So I'd rather just have time or whatever, security, all that kind of fun stuff. So
anyway. Getting involved, talking about running for council, what other things have you run for, or what other kind of boards are you involved with?
So I started out I was on the Aurora Historic. So I was kind of put in there as more of a disruptor. I was on the Aurora Historic Preservation Commission, and I was kind of the anti-person. But then
What?
Like, just, like the making everything all perfect and everything. And then I kind of got swayed more than they converted me more than I converted them, I think. So anyway, I did that for years, and then I don't even remember what year it was, but I decided to run for Aurora City Council, and that's where knocking on doors. That was one of my missions. I decided, I was like, I'm going to knock on all the doors and just talk to people and stuff like that, which I love to do. Actually, hearkening back to the conversation before about my job. So one of the things, as far as when at the end actually quite a few years of my career at the casino, my job was, I literally got paid to talk to people. I mean, that was my job. I mean, that's all I did. I was the front,
easy money.
I was the front guy, and what that has trained me. The two things I
still haven't found that job, but I'm sure I'd be a millionaire at it.
The two things I've took from that job that I am so grateful for is the ability to talk to anybody. I can literally, you can drop me down and I'll drag a conversation out of anybody. I mean, I can start talking and just get people to open up to me and just start talking to me. And it's one of those things where you just ask questions and get people talking and it's that kind of stuff. And then the next thing is I have the longest fuse you'll ever see in a person. I mean, I can just, people can be yelling and screaming at me, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, hey, I kill them with kindness. After a while, it was a lot of that customer service skills as far as just being calm all the time and just kill them with kindness. That's what it was. We'd always just, and I remember one of the things is this person was yelling at me about something. I don't remember what it was, customer. And
is that the casino?
Yes, down at the casino. I turned and I'm just ready to kill whoever screwed whatever up. I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, and then I just turned around and I just started talking to the customer all nice and calm, like nothing was, we'll take care of this, blah, blah, blah. Then I turned and walked around. He's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, how do I do what? He was like, you were just yelling and screaming. I was like, ready to kill us. And then you just turned around and went instantly into schmooze mode. And then I'm like, I don't know, I just do it. But yeah, those are the two things that I took away from that. Being able to talk to people and
I think people who can get
fuse.
along with people are people who are empathetic.
Yeah.
They seek to understand before they seek to understand. There's a book up here, someplace, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And he said, always seek first to understand before you seek to be understood.
Well, I just absolutely love people's stories most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, most people are kind of like, they always want to hear, they just want to talk about themselves.
Right.
I just want to hear people talk. I want to hear what people like. It's always, I get talking to old people, I just want to hear, or whatever, and I just, want to hear, like, when was this, and what'd you do there, and how'd that happen, and all this stuff, and how'd you end up here, and just, I just enjoy those conversations.
It's amazing to me how lives that seem mundane can be really fascinating.
Oh yeah, you just
especially in a small town like ours, where you've got generations that go back of, Dad worked at this factory, Grandpa owned this farm, my uncle's got this business, and and then my great uncle was in this war, or it's really fascinating to hear people that don't have flashy lives, but they have very enriched lives, and those enriching lives are full of a ton of lessons learned and life stories.
Yeah.
That if you take the time to sit there and listen.
And how everybody got to where we are.
Yeah.
Like those, back to the things, the strangest decision here.
Yeah.
Domino affected to, a family of 4 generations of, just because some guy decided, it's like, what, this West thing sounds kind of interesting. I wonder what's out there, that kind of stuff, So,
there we go.
Yeah.
So you were on the Historic Preservation Society or committee or whatever that was?
I ran for City Council of Aurora twice. So if anybody knows who Mike Kreider is, Mike Kreider was a pillar of Aurora, kind of like everybody knew him. So it was kind of, I jokingly say I had a snowball's chance in an Indiana summer of winning. So I didn't. And but I learned a lot, and I enjoyed it. So it was my first stint at running for, and I did that twice. I attempted it twice. So I did that. I'm currently on the Dearborn County Soil and Water Conservation Board. I chair that right now.
What does that board do for people? Like, I went to the dinner that you guys had. That was my first time ever attending that. Didn't even know much about it. What is that organization?
So it's basically it's just governmental support for farmers and then landowners on just every possible avenue as far as
how would somebody out in Dillsboro or Aurora come in contact with that board?
Just walk in. There's the buildings down on Randall Avenue.
No, but like what kind of need would they have that
so one of any kind of soil work, soil tests, it's the federal out of that office, which we're not part of, but I mean we're part of, but that's where a lot of the federal farm grants and stuff like that get processed and all that kind of stuff like that. But most of it, and then we're also now in charge of, or not now in charge of, but the stormwater stuff for all the MS4 and everything for the stormwater runoff.
Okay.
For Dearborn County. So like if you're going to do disturb, now it's an acre plus. It used to be all of it, but now it's an acre plus of if you're going to disturb a ground, you got to have. And this is all new stuff. They're still actually working through the permitting process and stuff. The fees for that as we speak. I mean, we still haven't voted to make them official exactly what they are, but the fees and whatnot. But just the process is to make sure that the creeks stay clean. Basically, I mean that's where all the silt runoff, make sure there's a plan for that, and the contractors and whatnot do it properly, and they're checked. That kind of stuff. They just do. We do any kind of, especially on the smaller property sizes, like pollinator plots. They have programs for that kind of stuff. They're doing a rain barrel shop. That kind of had a pond clinic. We just had a pond clinic a couple weeks ago. Just that kind of stuff. Just educational and governmental resources for landowners on a bigger scale and small scale stuff.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. The only reason, the biggest reason I signed, I jokingly always say that I hope to make enough money someday to become a farmer. That's what I want to kind of do when I grow up, And so I think it's, I learned so much from that. I was excited to be on that board because I learned so much from, about, the soil and water and all this. I mean, it just soak it in type thing. So anyway, there's that. So I do that, and then I've obviously with work I've been on. I'm currently on the Southeastern Indiana Board of Realtors MLS committee. I've served on their board of directors.
So one of the things that surprised me when I first got involved with local government is I've had opinions, like most people. I've had opinions about federal issues and state issues for years, and I just never really understood how important county government was. And in my opinion, after getting involved, in my opinion, everything is downstream from county government. County government and county parties really are the foundation for running for state offices, how statewide offices get elected. They're all interconnected, even congressional districts. If people in county government like a certain congressional person, chances are if somebody else runs against them, it doesn't matter how much money they have, they're not getting elected. And if people in county government don't like that congressional person, they're probably not, like that is, when you hear the phrase toe the line, oftentimes.
Or stay in your lane.
Well, yeah, but toe the line often, who is the line, who's holding it? Usually it's the collective group of people that have taken up shop, so to speak, in county government. And so in a small council race like yours, a small district, there's only so many issues that affect our lives. Most of it is like fiscal responsibility, no nepotism, be empathetic, listen to people, have a cool head, be able to see multiple sides, be a common sense thinker. The bar for that is not very high. I mean, it's not a big ask, I don't think,
Yeah.
But when you look at federal issues, I think it's interesting. When I got involved, some of the things that people I disagreed with at a local level, when I heard what some of their federal policies were or their beliefs were federally, somebody that I thought we would have a lot of similar ideas with were shockingly very different. And so if we were talking about the federal or the state government, what are the 3 hot buttons for you that are issues that make up, because I think that tells, and the reason I ask it, I think that tells a lot about somebody's core beliefs. And those core beliefs come with you when you get elected to council.
Well, I mean, that's what everybody, like I was saying about the stay in the lane thing. So many people ask all kinds of questions that have nothing to do with what I'm going to be doing, like whoever gets elected. If so elected as a councilman, like all the different issues that are out there. But everybody wants to know your opinion on the issues. But that's some of the points. That's a good point to answer. It's kind of like a job interview for God knows what, right? I mean, like you don't know somebody starting out as a councilman might next thing be somebody else. They run for the next thing. So I don't have really any ambitions to do any of that kind of stuff. But you're kind of feeling people out for 10 years from now or 20 years from now. As far as I'm not. I'll have a smart comment real quick. I've always been a Republican. I've never been a Democrat. I've never voted. I've never pulled so from my life as a 5th grade, actually, in Mr. Malot's government class, I was like the government nerd, and I loved the class, and I learned as much as I could about how the government worked and how it should work, and then moved on up to even Mr. Himes' government class and economics class of just government, operations. Or
so if I was to change the question, then what was one of the most what were some of your early foundational beliefs?
No, that's what I was getting at. So the Republican beliefs of the concepts. I would even call myself a libertarian more than but like I just believe in freedom to do kind of what less intrusive government. My small government. If there was if you asked me what I would believe in federal government, it's shrink it.
Yeah.
State government, shrink it. That would be my biggest thing. Everything's gotten so big and out of control. But then other than that, I mean, like the big, hot buttons as far as federal stuff I'm just basically your standard conservative. I mean, Second Amendment, pro-life, all those,
Right.
100% kind of all that kind of stuff. But yeah, as far as government, just less of it. So
Okay.
my biggest one would be less of it. So I don't think government doesn't make anything. They just take and screw it up along the way. One of my favorite lines is, people hear me say this all the time. It's one of my favorite lines is, first rule of government spending, why buy one when you can have two at twice the price? I mean, like, where do they come up with this stuff? I mean, like, they just... I mean, I even like in my... No, I just want to... But
seriously.
No, it's just, that's this... And some of the things I have to deal with I'm currently, like, there's money available to spend, let's spend it. And I'm like, let's not. Why do we need to spend it? I mean, it doesn't... There's got to be a value... return on investment here. I mean, we don't want to just spend money to spend money.
Right.
So, and that's where, like, as far as the council side of it, I mean, that's staying in your lane. That is the main topic of the council is budget and finance.
Going back to, there's not a lot of people that I talk with that remember their civics classes from a young kid.
Oh yeah, I was like.
How old were you?
Oh, it's like 5th grade. Like,
so you're like 12 or something?
Yeah, probably. So it was Mr. I had Mr. Wagner. And
what
Mr.
are the
Malott.
top 2 things you remember that impacted you as far as that class? What were some of your early convictional beliefs about government formulated in that class?
Really, it came down to the big government type thing. And that's where I learned that, like, because, like, one of the things I remember doing in Mr. Malott's class, which I loved, is he always had, you got to remember, this was, like, before little laptops and all these. I mean, we didn't
chalkboard?
We didn't have computers. So, like, the most technological thing we had was the overhead projector, right?
Okay.
And one of the things I did for extra credit, and I was a dork into that stuff, was he would have me I'd take political cartoons, from like the 1800s and stuff like that, and we'd blow them up because I'm a really good artist, let's call it.
Okay.
I'm really artistic. I can do. So we would blow these up and put them, make them huge so we could put them on a wall. And I got into it so much and loved it that he would just like there was like a new one every day.
Like archives, just have at it. Have fun.
We'd find political, and it was always, but you could see even like in the 1800s, all these cartoons were just about how government was intrusive and too big and all this kind of stuff like that. So it's something we haven't gotten rid of, and it's always been around, kind of thing. So yeah, and that's when back.
Well,
so.
I will tell you this is from a taxpayer. One of the things that shocked me when I first started paying attention to county government was how much of the system is not built for fiscal responsibility. And we can talk about property taxes. We could go down a bunch of different roads, but the reality is a lot of...
Spend a budget to get a budget. I mean, like
yeah,
if you don't spend your money, you're not going to get more money.
The state's going to take some of the money and we'll match your grant.
Oh, yeah.
So what's that encourage local councils to do? Raise funds so we have more money to spend so we can get bigger grants.
Yeah.
Not roll this over to the next year, combine, save. There's just so much control that goes upstream or downstream to the state and the federal level that if we don't have people in county government that say, no, bring that control back here, we'll make the decisions. Yeah. It literally, if you're going to start shrinking the size of government, you got to have people at a grassroots local government level who believe in shrinking that and who are going to tax and spend accordingly and invest accordingly.
Yeah, and even with, I have seen in local government, the biggest thing, we're constantly begging for money from the state. And just the grants and matched grants, and we're always begging for money. And I try to remind people, I say it a lot, is like when we're getting, we got $1 million from this grant from the feds and all this stuff.
It all came out of our pockets.
It didn't even, though. It's all printed money. It did come out of our pocket through inflationary.
Right,
Yeah,
sure.
But it's literally, they just print money. So so anyway, we just got to kind of, even one of the biggest reasons, getting off topic or into another topic, but one of the biggest reasons I'm running for public office in general is, with the world the way it is, I think over the next 10 years, we're going to see massive changes in the world. Okay,
I would agree with that.
And as far that one of the big, and I always tell my wife and anybody else that listens, the only thing we can control is our own little bubble.
Right.
That's really all we got. We can go and we get to vote once every couple of years for somebody we'll never see and all that kind of stuff and see them on television. But the only real control we have is our own little bubble here. So we have anybody that tells you what's coming down the pipe is either crazy, a liar, or crazy, because the future is so uncertain right now, and so we need the county to be as fiscally responsible. So it's one of the reasons why the council's pretty good. It's fit for me. We need it to be as fiscally responsible right now to get on a solid foundation. So whatever comes down for us in the future, we can take that. Because yes, I mean that's one of the biggest things I worry about and everything, and what's going to happen over the next 10 years is, with all the AI stuff and everything like that, which currently everybody thinks it's a neat little toy and they like to make little videos with it and stuff like that. But
there's a lot of dangers to it. I mean, with automobiles, they were awesome, but came wrecks and,
yeah, well,
you need infrastructure differently. I mean, they totally change everything and they need guardrails.
Yeah, exactly. And well, then we're not really for sure if we have control over it. We'll have control over it or not. But anyway, even regardless, the amount of jobs that it can replace, that it will replace and is already replacing.
Yeah.
Oracle just a couple months ago or last month laid off 30,000 people via email. And that was all those people were replaced by AI. And then another article I read was 100,000 in the first quarter of 2026. It was over 100,000 people were just obviously replaced with AI jobs. Wow. So that's all going to just trickle down to who knows what we're going to get out of it all. So anyway, that's why we just need to. That's one of the real reasons. Like, wow, it's like and I've always said, like, everybody's heard the old line, if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Yeah.
Right. But if you don't participate. Voting's one thing. The next level past that is if you don't participate in government, you can't complain. Like if you're just like, I voted for that guy and he didn't do what I said, so I can't complain. But you got to be that guy and go do something about it.
So you talk about participating, and there's a lot of different ways people can participate. They can help with somebody's campaign.
Yeah.
First thing they do is they start paying attention to the issues.
Mm-hmm.
What was one of the first local issues that you started paying attention to? I mean, did you ever get involved in school boards or school races or just county government? Or
and that's back to fiscal. I mean, the biggest thing I've probably been known for, if you see some of the stuff out there on complaining about me on Facebook or whatnot. So during the whole South Dearborn turf field and all that kind of fight, we were on there was the two different sides of that, and
that was during a time where I was not paying attention to hardly anything.
Yeah.
But I lived right across from South Dearborn.
Yeah, right. I know, right? Yeah, I had the big. That's actually funny because right next to that property, your house there is where I learned how wide the right of way State Route 350 is.
It's big. It's big.
Yeah. Because they took my sign. It wasn't my sign. It was somebody gave us a sign, I don't even remember what it said, Knights for Fiscal Responsibility. And I took the initiative to put it up, right?
Yeah.
And we were off the road. I mean, and next thing I know, I get a text, the sign's gone. The county took the sign. And we're like, oh,
would have been the state.
Well, it was actually, I think it was the county because it was the county garage. But anyway, the sign's gone, so I'm like, I go get the sign, because a lot of times they don't throw the stuff away.
Yeah.
They just sit it next to the dumpster so you can come and get it. So I'm like, what? And they said it was in the right of way. It's like, there's no way.
It's like 100 feet off the road.
Oh, yeah.
The right of way's here.
Yeah.
The road's all the way over on this side.
Yeah,
I guess.
no,
Is this right? It's like this way.
I have somewhere in my flat files is the...
They'll never build the road all the way over to the west side.
350 was actually... They acquired the property to make it 4 lanes, is why that's that way.
They were planning on being a 4-lane road?
Yeah. Evidently somebody had... I was having a conversation about this at the...
Where is that ever going to work for 4 lanes? They've built houses too close to it on 350 all the way up there.
Not really. If you drive out there, it's wide.
A 4-lane road's you talk about some hefty traffic.
Not divided, but 4 lanes. Yeah, so it was made to... I mean, I think it's a Super 2, as they refer to it as a Super 2 now. But it was, for what I understand, they acquired, when they did the intimate domain, they acquired enough property to make it 4 lanes, is what it's huge, wide. That's why it's so wide. But anyway, Actually, like I said, but I was just having a conversation with somebody today at the early voting about because we're at the firehouse, right? And you're looking down on US 50
Yeah.
From there, and you got like 4-lane US 50 going out, and you just got to scratch your head sometimes, like, why did they make that thing 4 lanes all the way out, past Dillsboro into nothing? I mean, it's been that way since the 60s. So I've always just assumed that the government had ambitions that we were going to develop and become this big. But who I was talking to actually gave me another insight of this. Like I never even thought about the Nike base out there in Dillsboro that they made. His thought was they made it 4 lanes to support to be able to get stuff to the Nike base if needed. So that's maybe one of the reasons. But anyway, if anybody knows out there, you can put it in the comments. Isn't that what we're supposed to say?
Yeah, you're good to do it. US 50 is a federal road.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
350 is a state road.
Yep.
So that would have been the difference. So if they had it for the Nike base, the federal government would have had.
No, but even that's one of the. Just why the 50 was so big, and even 350 was still made to be. Why they? They just probably had ambitions that.
Going back to South Dearborn,
it was going to be a
fiscal or nights for fiscal responsibility.
Yeah,
I literally know nothing about that era other than I literally didn't pay attention to social media. I was working 70, 80 hours a week.
Yeah. Well, if you want to get people fired up, that's what you talk about. That's what. But anyway, it was basically about the school and how they were spending money, and I don't necessarily want to. My argument right now is everybody this is kind of restarting to boil over. It's if you've been watching Facebook and stuff like that. So there's already another grassroots team gurgling for them to come back. And somebody asked me on there, I was like, what do you think about this? And I was like, I just hate to tell you, I told you so. I literally went and screenshotted because we still have there's still a Facebook page that we've turned off or whatever.
Okay.
Nights for Fiscal Responsibility, and so, but I can still go look at it because I'm one of the moderators still. But anyway, I snipped one of the things that this is basically a moral story. This is a bad idea, and it's not going to get the results we want. And my question was, has the enrollment of South Denver gone up since then? No. It's even somebody was bashing me on Facebook about being part of that. And I said, well, go ask the citizens of Manchester and Morris Hill what they think about the decisions of South Denver School District, because they've closed their 2 schools now. So, they've spent a lot of money. Is the moral of it. But then again, that has nothing to do with council and what I'm running for. But a lot of times people just want to know. They ask you questions because they want to know what kind of person you are and what you think about things.
Sure.
Yeah, but I was a big part of that. Or I wasn't a big part of it. I was just very involved in that. So. I didn't like us spending so much. We spend a lot of money on it, and it's tax dollars. So.
The first thing I ever heard comment was somebody who actually was a school board member, and they had told me something about when I first started asking questions about how's the Republican Party work down here, who's all involved, and they had made the phrase up in Indianapolis or wherever else they were at. They said they call those people the tax and spend Republicans down there, and. He's like, I just feel like we waste so much money down here. And I thought, well, again, my naive person and not really understanding what was going on and how county government and county party really have a lot of control and things start there. I just thought, well, county's their problem. I'm worried about the state and the federal issues. And so never really looked any more into it. So you've got grandkids now.
Yes, 2.
How has your perspective or has anything shifted with you when you're talking about the next 10 years and concern shifted from going from dad to grandpa?
Well,
how does that change your perspective?
It doesn't. It doesn't really change anything. It just kind of gives you a booster shot. Let's call it. Because you go into this. You're at that time right now. You got these little kids, and you got to take care of them. You're going to provide for them and do all that kind of stuff like that. And so you have that mentality, right? And then as they get bigger and they turn 18, go off to wherever they're going to go off, it kind of teeters back. But as soon as the grandchildren come, now all of a sudden you get that, it's like a booster shot of that same mentality of, it reminds you of your, you got to keep working and make sure that we leave this place better than we found it for our grandkids kind of thing, So, that's it definitely revigorates you to keep going and doing, doing good kind of thing. So
one of the questions I've asked people who are running at higher offices or things that are bigger areas, I should say, bigger voter blocks, is if there was one law that you could change at a state level, snap your fingers, which is not how it works, but if you could change one thing, or if there was one thing that you could accomplish in the district that you're running for, is there anything that comes to mind with that would improve the lives of people in District 3?
That's an interesting. I mean, it would take me a minute to sit and figure what would be the best snap your, like if you're a king kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, for the most part, I mean, the county's not. There's nothing terribly horrible about what's going on. I mean, it would have to be more like stuff at the federal level, things like that. Some of the hot topics that I would push. Yeah, that would be the one things. Your basic, conservative value type things. Just if there was a snap your fingers and make something illegal, that would be it.
As you look at the next 10 years, what are some just as somebody who lives, politics aside, as somebody who lives, who's a voter and a taxpayer on the West Side, what are there any issues that you think really need to be addressed, or you think that are going to come up over the next 10 years? You're in real estate,
for sure.
So you can talk about development and other things. As you look down the road 10 years, what are some things that you think we're going to be facing?
Oh, it's going to be money. Declining revenues and increasing costs. I mean, that's going to be our biggest. I mean, like I said, again, back to the whole what is going to come of this whole AI thing and all that kind of stuff like that. I mean, it could change a lot of employment concepts. A lot of people a lot of jobs might not be necessary anymore, that kind of stuff. And where do those people go? And how do you can't tax somebody. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, the government loves property tax so much, is it's so stable. But people got to pay property taxes. And in order to pay the property taxes, they have to have jobs and that stuff. So we have to keep the county where people can work, or they have jobs and there's jobs available. So I'm not by no means a pro-growth, person or anything like that, but we have to, change has to be consistent, steady and consistent. It can speed. You can't just pound something in, because you can't like even real estate, stuff like that, development, all that kind of stuff like that. People don't understand how complicated. I mean, it's it sounds simple or whatnot, but you can't have the horse before, or the cart before the horse concepts like that. The biggest thing is, not sound vulgar, and you always got to wonder where the poo goes. I mean, it sounds simple. I mean, it sounds dumb, but it's such a simple concept. We don't have this. Our sewer infrastructure is not there. It's a lot of it's old. It's not sized. I mean, we need, and then half the great majority of the county is on septic, and that's getting to be more complicated, way more complicated, which is a good thing, not necessarily a bad thing, but to a degree. Again, government intervention as far as, back in you have a lot of these houses and whatnot that are out there. They're on 1 acre lots with septic systems. Well, if the septic system fails,
you don't have room for.
You don't have new rooms. So it's some of the things, those little things that the government actually, I can say, has done right. I couldn't imagine we built these houses and stuff back in the day with just on this little spot, but now you have to have a primary, secondary system or spot for systems, which ensures that if something goes wrong. But yeah, we just don't have our infrastructure has to grow. We can't have the horse or the cart before the horse. You have to have the infrastructure has to grow, and you can't just put in, because this stuff costs millions and millions of dollars to put in the sewer systems. So it's very hard. And then the biggest problem, I mean, if you talk about, I got one. So you said for the county, if you could snap your fingers and make something happen, if I could snap my fingers and make something happen for the county, which I'm sure everybody would be grateful for, would be try to figure out something to do with 50 going through Lawrenceburg. I think that would drastically improve,
to alleviate the traffic.
Yeah, improve the lives of. But there's no.
I would love for you guys to address that.
There is no. I would. I've thought about it, and somebody told me the other day that they had anyway, I've heard all these. There's this idea.
I want to
out there,
know.
and
I
there's
thought
just no
20
way.
years ago, and I'm not one of these. Let's build another road. I'm the guy who says, "Hey, let's fix the roads we already have first.
Yeah.
Then we can think about building another road."
Yeah.
But I've always wondered, like one of my frustrations, and if you're elected to council, one of the most impactful things you'll do is appoint people to boards.
Right.
There's a lot of different boards, whether it's the planning commission, redevelopment, building and planning and zoning, the sewer board that you guys get appointments to that, I believe as well. That's really important. They do a lot of good work. Please don't sell that off. There was a big push to have that sold about a year ago. I think we should keep the sewer district.
Well, I think all any monopolies should not be sold.
Yeah.
Right, like
no, they shouldn't be privatized.
They're the utilities by kind of definition are monopolies. There's only one sewer line that gets hooked to your house. There's only one electric line that gets hooked to your house. There's only one. So any of the things that you're forced into having should not. I'm not a big government guy.
But there are things that government should do. But there's a thing
there's government should control, which is the same like police, fire, sewer, water, utilities, all these things that are.
They're not free market items.
Yeah, exactly. You can't have six different companies bringing a sewer line to your house. It's not going to happen. So that kind of stuff. So I would be.
I want to know, and I don't know why this happened, but I was told. So Industrial Drive that goes back behind.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so
I don't know why there's not it's not maybe like a mile or something of road.
Which Industrial Drive are you
Industrial Drive that goes back to the old Ivy Tech.
Okay, yeah.
Why doesn't that link up with Route 1? I was told that they had plans to do that years ago, and that's why a lot of people bought. Like you had the old.
It's still not going to alleviate traffic.
Why not? People would come straight and go off Route 1 and jump.
Then come back down onto.
And then just loop. You would literally go behind all the people going up to 48 and to Manchester. There'd be a huge. There would just be taking the bottleneck out of that.
Yeah,
I don't know enough to say I'm for that. I just.
Yeah, no.
The question was there that makes sense. I would like to see what the plan would be if that were the case.
So I mean,
and somebody said, "Well, it costs way too much money to bring it up out of the floodplain." I thought, build the dang road in the floodplain, put it in concrete, and put tons of gravel underneath it, and
it goes underwater every once in a while.
And it goes underwater once or twice a year. Yeah. Whoop-de-doo! Why are we going to spend $5 million bringing in a bunch of dirt? Yeah. It just doesn't build infrastructure with fiscal responsibility in mind.
Yeah.
But what I heard was it was supposed to go through. Well, it's not a Fed issue.
But I mean, that's where you'd have to build it. I'm sure that you have to build it to some kind of standards and the blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's the reason why you can't do it. But I don't know. I'd have to look at that.
My question for that is, who's going to come look? This is our county. Why can't we do what we want? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I've looked at, it's been a while since, it was actually when the port was coming in. And I was having a conversation with somebody about, how are we, everyone, even when they were talking about it, they're like, this is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm like, how are you going to get things there? It was easy when it was a power plant because it was just electricity. But if you're going to turn it into anything, how are you going to get stuff in and out of there? It's completely isolated for shipping.
And how many semis are coming in?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many, this is the simplest, and I have actually politely asked Aurora. But we have a terminal now, right, in Aurora, okay, consolidated, okay, and I see how many grain trucks come in and out of so they were talking about this port being
12 months out of the year.
Well, no, not only just way bigger. I mean, it was going to be a much larger port. And how are you going to get where? And then you're going to just dump them off into the middle of Lawrenceburg. How are you going to get those trucks out of there? But it's that kind of stuff. But there's also simple and cheap things too. Let's bring up the consolidated thing. And I'd love to see this happen. So they get all these trucks lined up down through there. Back to our 350 thing. Why? 350 happens to be ridiculously big, right? Let's use that to our advantage. Instead of having all those trucks sitting down there blocking US 50 up, have them sit out there on 350 and have some guy with a radio go, okay, next guy go, oh yeah, you can go down. Just sit them down after the ones make it through,
God forbid we have common sense in how we run local government.
It came up to the argument was, oh, now we're going to have to pay somebody to sit up there versus how many thousands of people have to sit down in traffic and deal with this bottleneck because, anyway, that's one of my stumps or my soapboxes there. But yeah, there's I can't figure out. I've looked at it before, and I'd have to go back and. I think if I remember right, the industrial drive runs into a hill and stuff. I mean, you got to get across the Tanners again, so you got a bridge.
I would just say if you get the chance to look into it, I heard that the project got shut down because there were bats. And I said, well, cut the trees a different time of the year.
Yeah.
It just seemed like some goofy thing. I have heard that
story too.
I've just wondered if there was a reason for people in government, because when you sell real estate, you read some sales books, people always say, look, there's the reason people give, and then there's the real reason. And I think a lot of people in government are the same way. Like if they want to tell you no, or they want to tell you have to do something a certain way, there's the reason they give, which sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the real reason.
Yeah.
And so I heard, well, there was going to be bats. I'm like, well, that was the reason they gave. What was the real reason?
Yeah.
And I always assume, or not always assume, but one of the things I ask is, who stands to gain, one way or the other? It's an objective question.
Yeah.
Was there some kind of was somebody going to gain ulterior motive where we want to make this a more high traffic area for whatever reason, and so we're going to shut this down over here because somebody might lose out on business eyes or something else?
Maybe. I
would love for that topic to be looked at.
It's a Lawrenceburg thing. Like obviously, it's not stay in your lane, but it's Lawrenceburg's government. But like even all through there, I mean, how many we add lights to 50, right? Like so, even like in Lowe's and everything back there, we just keep adding lights. It seems like every couple there's another light, whatever. Like if you go into some of the other like there's a road. It's almost completed. Like you could go in down there at Bob Evans, right?
Right.
And then it would go if you could make it run all the way up and come pop back out up at where Wawa's even going in. So you'd have a connector road. So if you needed to go around, not even a bypass, but just get to eliminate light or lights. And they would, no property owner is going to want to give up. They just paid millions of dollars to get that corner lot on a light.
Sure.
So once the government does something, it's impossible, pretty much impossible to get it back, kind of thing. Once it's there, same thing again with on the other side of the levee in Lawrenceburg, Greendale. Once you get up there, the backside of behind Hag and all that kind of stuff. Right. Run a road and run it right up through there and connect it in up there at the top of the little connector road, just to try to figure out how to get traffic moving through. If there was a complaint that I've heard more times than any other complaint is traffic on 50. I mean, even
that affects District 3 and the West Side more than anything
absolutely. else. Absolutely. Even selling, what's the first thing somebody says when they want to buy? How long
does it take to get out here?
I just want a house on the other side of Lawrenceburg. I mean, how many times I've heard that in my life? I know I got to be on the other side of Lawrenceburg. I don't want to be in Lawrenceburg traffic. We're going to buy in Bright, and that's why. Like a lot of that is people want to move over there, so they don't. Lawrenceburg's such a bottleneck. If there was one thing you could snap your fingers and try to fix, would be that smoothing the traffic through Lawrenceburg. But it's not a council thing anyway, so it doesn't matter. But
well, good.
Yeah.
Well, any other topics we didn't cover? I feel like if somebody wants to take 45 minutes and listen to a podcast, this is the environment somebody would have if you walked in and it was dinner table or people were having pizzas. Hey, it's my buddy Chris. He's running for council.
Yeah.
And somebody could ask you questions. They get a good feel for you. So nothing super intense or just keep it light. But
yeah, I mean, like all the controversial stuff going on that everybody's screaming about as far as the solar and stuff like that. I mean, we could.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, my 2 cents on that is simple as like it's. I'm a more proponent of all the rules should be enforced the same.
Right.
And somebody shouldn't get a special carve out for anything like that. So nobody's going to want 1,000 acres of landfill or insert whatever here. So why should we give those carve outs? So any other thing I can think of that's not again, not an issue with council, but that's the way I feel about rules. I think we should have a set of rules to follow.
Gotcha.
And they should be simple and equal across the board. So we wouldn't let anybody else have, any other entity have free reign with 1,000 acres. We shouldn't let any other, one, just because the feds want us to. So. Yeah.
All right, sweet. Well, Chris.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on Time with Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Enjoy it.
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Signing off from the great state of Indiana, where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and all the children are above average.
Have I never made it to the end of your podcast to hear that? Is that? Do you put that at the end of all your podcasts?
Somebody said, Sam, you need to sign off. I was like, well, let's go with that.
Maybe you should consult AI.
We can clip that ahead of time.
I know, it's funny.